There's a certain unease that creeps in when you sense that someone around you isn't being entirely genuine. Maybe it's a friend who smiles at your success but avoids eye contact when you share good news. Perhaps it's a colleague who showers you with compliments, but something about their tone feels off. Envy and falsehood are insidious. They rarely announce themselves with a loud bang. Instead, they seep into interactions, disguised as support, concealed behind words that sound warm but lack true substance. The ancient Stoics understood that the external world is full of illusions, and that one of the greatest dangers to a person's inner peace is allowing deceptive and envious individuals to influence them. As Epictetus wisely said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." But how do you tell the difference between a genuine friend and one who secretly resents you? How do you recognize hidden envy and dishonesty before they entangle you in their web? This episode will help you sharpen your perception. We'll explore 10 key ways to recognize envy and falsehood in others so that you can protect your peace, avoid toxic influences, and cultivate relationships built on sincerity and respect. By the end of this episode, you'll have the tools to navigate your social world with clarity and wisdom, just as the Stoics did. Let's begin. 1. Observe their actions, not their words. People can say all the right things, profess loyalty, promise support, even declare admiration. But words are cheap. Actions, however, reveal the truth. The Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, emphasized the importance of judging reality based on actions rather than illusions. He once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." This wisdom extends beyond self-improvement. It also applies to how we evaluate others. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who constantly speaks about kindness, yet in moments of real need, they remain absent? Or a colleague who boasts about teamwork, but seizes every opportunity to take credit for someone else's effort? This is where the test of observation becomes crucial. Rather than focusing on what people say, pay attention to what they consistently do. A truly supportive person's behavior aligns with their words. If they call you a friend, they show up when it matters. If they say they respect you, they will never undermine you behind your back. Envious and false individuals, on the other hand, tend to display contradictions. They speak highly of integrity but act dishonestly, or they praise your achievements while secretly hoping for your failure. Take, for example, the historical figure Julius Caesar. Throughout his rise to power, he was surrounded by senators and supposed allies who spoke of loyalty and unity. Yet when the opportunity presented itself, their actions told a different story. Envy and ambition drove them to betray him in the most treacherous way possible. His downfall wasn't caused by his enemies, but by those who pretended to be his friends. This pattern repeats in everyday life. Someone may express excitement about your success, but do they genuinely support you when opportunities come your way? Do they celebrate your victories, or do they subtly undermine them with backhanded compliments? Pay close attention when actions contradict words, because in those moments, you'll see the truth. The Stoic approach to this is simple. Observe without attachment. Do not make excuses for people's behavior. See them as they are, not as you wish them to be. As Seneca said, the best indicator of a person's character is how they behave when they think no one is watching. So here's an actionable step. Start noticing patterns. Does this person follow through on their promises? Do they act consistently with their words? Or do their actions expose an underlying falsehood? The more you rely on observation rather than assumption, the clearer the truth becomes. And once you see it, you can make wiser choices about who deserves a place in your life. 2. Evaluate their response to your success. Success has a way of exposing people's true feelings. When you achieve something, a promotion, a personal milestone, or even just a moment of happiness, how do the people around you react? Do they genuinely celebrate with you, or do you sense a shift in their demeanor? Envy thrives in silence, in forced smiles, in congratulations that feel insincere. The ancient Stoics understood that true character is revealed not in words, but in how people handle the success of others. Imagine this: you excitedly share good news with a friend. Instead of matching your enthusiasm, they pause, force a smile, and quickly change the subject. Or perhaps they respond with a dismissive comment. Well, must be nice. Some of us have to work harder for things like that. These are subtle signs of resentment, indications that your success has triggered something uncomfortable in them. A true friend, a person of virtue, rejoices in your achievements without feeling diminished by them. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Envy stems from a sense of lack. Those who are content within themselves do not see your success as a threat. They see it as an inspiration. But those who are insecure, those who measure their worth in comparison to others, will struggle to celebrate your victories sincerely. You'll often notice envious people trying to downplay your success. They might say, "It's just luck," or "Anyone could have done that." They might even act supportive in public, but speak negatively about you behind your back. In extreme cases, they may attempt to sabotage you, subtly discouraging you from aiming higher, making you doubt yourself, or attempting to claim credit for your work. Consider Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who rose from obscurity to power, only to be surrounded by advisors and generals who both admired and resented him. Many of them, outwardly loyal, ultimately turned against him, not because of his failures, but because of his successes. History is full of examples like this, figures who achieved greatness only to be betrayed by those who could not handle seeing them rise. So how can you protect yourself from hidden envy? Pay attention to consistency. A true supporter will uplift you in both your struggles and your triumphs. They won't disappear when you're doing well, and they won't hesitate to cheer you on without reservation. Someone who only seems comfortable when you're struggling, but grows distant when you succeed, is revealing their true nature. Here's your Stoic action step. Observe. The next time you share good news, notice the reactions you receive. Who genuinely celebrates with you? Who subtly downplays your achievement? Who changes the subject or offers a lukewarm response? And most importantly, who remains consistent in their support, whether you are succeeding or struggling? The people who are truly in your corner will never resent your growth. Surround yourself with those who see your victories as a shared joy, not a personal loss. 3. Observe how they treat those who cannot benefit them. A person's true nature is most clearly revealed in how they treat those who have nothing to offer them. It's easy to be kind, respectful, and attentive when there's something to gain. But what happens when there's no reward involved? When the other person has no status, no influence, nothing to give? That's when falsehood and envy become most apparent. The Stoics often spoke about the importance of virtue over external status. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor with immense power, understood this deeply. Despite ruling over an empire, he reminded himself daily to treat everyone with dignity, regardless of rank or wealth. A person's worth is measured by the goodness of their character, not by their station in life, he wrote in his Meditations. But not everyone follows this principle. Think about the people around you. Do they treat their boss or a wealthy friend with warmth and generosity, but act dismissively toward service workers, subordinates, or those they perceive as unimportant? Do they respect people when there's an audience, but show indifference when no one is watching? This behavior is a red flag. It suggests that their kindness is transactional, not genuine. History is full of figures whose reputations were built on power and influence, only to be revealed as hollow once they were removed from their privileged positions. The French Revolution, for example, exposed the aristocrats who had spent their lives indulging in wealth while disregarding the struggles of the lower classes. When the tides turned, their friends abandoned them, proving that their relationships were built on status, not sincerity. You'll often find that envious and deceitful people display this same pattern. They may flatter those above them while ignoring or mistreating those they deem insignificant. This isn't just arrogance, it's an indication of an unstable, envious nature. They see relationships as tools, not as genuine connections. A person of integrity, on the other hand, treats everyone with respect, regardless of their ability to offer something in return. They don't adjust their kindness based on personal benefit. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who was born into slavery and later became a revered teacher, understood this well. He taught that character is revealed in how we act when there is no reward, no consequence, no expectation. So here's a simple but powerful test. Watch how someone treats waiters, janitors, receptionists, or strangers. Do they acknowledge them? Do they treat them with kindness? Or do they dismiss them as if they don't matter? This is your Stoic action step. Become an observer of character. Notice if someone's behavior changes depending on who they are talking to. The person who only shows respect when there is something to gain is not truly kind. They are opportunistic, and if they are willing to be false in small things, they are likely to be false in greater matters as well. In the end, a person's real character is not measured by how they treat their equals or superiors, but by how they treat those with nothing to offer them. As Seneca put it, virtue is not proven in easy circumstances, but in difficult ones. Pay attention, and you'll see who is truly virtuous and who is merely pretending. 4. Distinguish between praise and flattery. There's a fine line between genuine praise and manipulative flattery, and knowing the difference can protect you from envious and deceitful people. True praise uplifts, encourages, and reflects honesty. Flattery, on the other hand, is excessive, insincere, and often hides an ulterior motive. The Stoics understood that vanity is a weakness that can be exploited. Seneca warned against those who use flattery to manipulate. He who praises you more than he should has in his mind either to deceive you or to make use of you. In other words, beware of those who constantly shower you with exaggerated compliments, especially if their words feel disconnected from reality. Flattery often comes from those who harbor hidden jealousy or deceit. They overcompensate, not out of admiration, but out of a need to gain favor or influence your perception. It's not uncommon for envious individuals to praise excessively in public, but undermine you in private, or to boost your ego as a way to keep you off guard. Imagine a coworker who constantly tells you, "You're the best, no one else compares to you," yet behind your back, they subtly diminish your accomplishments to others. Or a so-called friend who always agrees with you, never challenges your ideas, and constantly tells you what you want to hear. This isn't a sign of support. It's a sign of hidden agendas. A historical example of this can be seen in the downfall of Julius Caesar. He was surrounded by men who flattered him, called him a god, and publicly praised his leadership. Yet behind closed doors, many of these same men resented his power. Their excessive praise wasn't genuine. It was a distraction, a mask for their true intentions. In the end, some of his most trusted allies turned against him. So how can you distinguish between real praise and flattery? Watch for depth and consistency. Genuine praise is balanced. It acknowledges strengths while also offering constructive insight. A real friend will tell you when you've done something great, but they will also be honest when they see room for improvement. They won't just tell you what you want to hear, they'll tell you what you need to hear. A person who only gives empty, exaggerated compliments without ever offering thoughtful feedback is likely not being honest. Likewise, someone who suddenly stops praising you when you no longer benefit them is revealing that their flattery was never real to begin with. The Stoic approach. Detach from both praise and criticism. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not let either praise or criticism affect your sense of self. Stay true to your path. Instead of seeking validation from others, focus on your own principles. When someone praises you, ask yourself, is this feedback meaningful or does it feel excessive? Does this person still respect me when I don't meet their expectations?" Here's your action step. Be cautious of those who flatter you excessively, but value those who challenge you honestly. A person who truly respects you will never deceive you with false praise. Seek relationships where honesty, not manipulation, is the foundation. 5. Watch for consistency in their behavior. One of the most revealing traits of envious or deceitful individuals is their inconsistency. People who are genuine remain steady in their words and actions, but those who harbor jealousy or hidden agendas often shift their behavior depending on circumstances. One moment they are your biggest supporter, the next they are indifferent or subtly undermining you. The Stoics understood the importance of consistency in character. Epictetus once said, "If a man is inconsistent, he is unreliable, and if he is unreliable, he is untrustworthy." This is a powerful principle. Someone who constantly changes their attitude or actions based on their own convenience cannot be trusted. Have you ever met someone who is warm and friendly when you are doing well, but distant or cold when you face struggles? Or perhaps a colleague who praises your ideas in private, but remains silent or even takes credit when you present them in public? These are signs of an unstable, opportunistic person who lacks integrity. History offers countless examples of this type of behavior. Think of the court of King Henry VIII, filled with advisors and nobles who swore loyalty to him when it was convenient, but turned on one another the moment power shifted. Many of these men perished because they aligned themselves with the king when it benefited them, only to betray or abandon him when he fell out of favor with the people. In everyday life, inconsistency reveals itself in small ways. A friend who is only supportive when no one else is watching, but dismisses you when around others. A family member who acts differently toward you based on whether you have something they want. A boss or co-worker who changes their behavior depending on whom they're talking to. These inconsistencies are red flags that reveal a lack of authenticity. So how do you spot and handle inconsistency? Observe patterns. The Stoics believed that a person's true nature is shown over time, not in isolated moments. If someone's kindness, loyalty, or respect fluctuates depending on external factors, take note. Pay attention to how they behave when there is nothing to gain. This will reveal their true intentions. Here's your Stoic action step. Don't ignore red flags just because someone is occasionally supportive. Look at the bigger picture. If their words and actions do not align consistently, they are not reliable. Surround yourself with those whose behavior is steady, whose character does not shift like the wind, and whose loyalty is based on principle, not convenience. As Marcus Aurelius put it, a person's worth is measured by what they do, not what they say they will do. 6. Watch their reaction to criticism. A person's ability to handle criticism says more about their character than their ability to handle praise. Jealous and deceitful individuals often react negatively to constructive criticism because it exposes the insecurities they try so hard to conceal. Instead of reflecting and learning, they become defensive, dismissive, or even hostile. This reaction is a clear indicator of envy and falsehood. The Stoics believed that criticism, when given with good intent, is a tool for self-improvement. Seneca once said, "He who fears being criticized fears the truth." A wise person welcomes feedback because they understand that growth requires humility. But an envious or dishonest person, they see criticism as a threat to their carefully crafted image. Imagine you point out a small mistake to a colleague. A secure, self-assured person will acknowledge it, perhaps even thank you for bringing it to their attention. But a deceitful or jealous individual, they might downplay their mistake, shift the blame, or lash out. Their response isn't about the mistake itself. It's about their inability to accept anything that makes them feel lesser in comparison to others. Consider the fall of Napoleon Bonaparte. Once a brilliant strategist, he became increasingly resistant to advice as his ego grew. He surrounded himself with people who praised him rather than challenged him. When critics warned him about his over-reliance on conquest, he ignored them. His eventual downfall was a result of his refusal to accept constructive criticism, something the Stoics would have considered a tragic failure of wisdom. You'll notice this same pattern in personal relationships. People who struggle with envy often become defensive when others offer them well-meaning feedback. They interpret advice as an attack rather than an opportunity to improve. Instead of using it as a lesson, they respond with anger, denial, or passive-aggressive behavior. So how do you apply Stoic wisdom to this? Observe people's reactions to small critiques. If someone cannot handle minor corrections, how will they react to bigger challenges? If their first instinct is to deny, deflect, or retaliate, they are revealing a fragile ego. But if they take the feedback with calmness and gratitude, it shows resilience and wisdom. Here's your action step. Pay attention to how people respond when they are challenged. Do they reflect, learn, and adjust? Or do they resist, attack, and blame? A person's response to criticism is one of the clearest indicators of their true nature. Surround yourself with those who value growth over ego, those who can hear the truth without resentment. As Marcus Aurelius wisely advised, "If anyone can prove me wrong, show me my mistake, or bring a better idea, I will gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone." 7. Watch for unintentional comparisons. Jealousy often reveals itself in subtle ways. One of the clearest signs is when someone constantly compares you to others, even when it's not necessary, whether they're making direct comparisons or dropping casual remarks. These little comments are often a sign of hidden envy. The Stoics believed that comparison is one of the greatest sources of unhappiness, both for the one who envies and the one being envied. Epictetus warned against measuring ourselves against others, saying, "How long will you wait before you demand the best for yourself? Stop comparing and live according to your own principles." This wisdom applies not only to our own self-worth, but also to how we recognize envy in others. When people repeatedly compare your achievements, lifestyle, or qualities to someone else's, they are revealing their own insecurities and jealousy. Have you ever had a friend or co-worker who always makes comments like, "Wow, you got that promotion fast. Most people take years. That's a nice car, but did you see what Jake just bought? You're in great shape, but Lisa has an even better physique." At first glance, these statements might seem harmless, but if you listen closely, you'll notice they are designed to subtly undermine you, making you question whether your achievements are truly valuable. Envious people struggle to celebrate others without dragging in unnecessary comparisons. History offers many examples of this toxic behavior. Take Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, two of the greatest artists of the Renaissance. While both were geniuses, their rivalry was fueled by constant comparisons. Da Vinci, often regarded as the more refined and intellectual artist, was frequently compared to the younger and more ambitious Michelangelo, creating tension between them. These comparisons weren't necessarily direct insults, but they fueled resentment, an example of how external judgment can breed unnecessary rivalry. You'll often notice envious individuals bringing up comparisons when you share good news. Instead of simply congratulating you, they'll mention someone who is doing even better, or suggest that your success isn't as significant as it seems. Their goal is to plant doubt, to make you feel like you're never enough. So, how do you apply Stoic wisdom to this? Recognize these comparisons for what they are, a reflection of the other person's insecurities, not of your worth. A secure, genuine person does not feel the need to measure you against others. They acknowledge your growth on its own terms, not in relation to someone else. Here's your action step. Pay attention to how people speak about your achievements. Are they genuinely happy for you, or do they find a way to compare you to others? A simple way to test this is by flipping the conversation. The next time someone makes an unnecessary comparison, respond with, "Why does that matter? I'm happy with what I've accomplished." Interesting, but I don't measure my success against others. Their reaction will tell you everything. A confident, well-intentioned person will respect your mindset, while an envious person may get defensive or try to justify their comparison. The Stoics teach us to detach from external validation and define success on our own terms. If someone constantly measures you against others, they are showing their own struggle with envy. And in the end, your progress is not a competition. As Marcus Aurelius wisely put it, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Keep your mind clear of unnecessary comparisons and be mindful of those who try to impose them on you. 8. Watch how they share their personal failures. A person's true nature is not only revealed in how they handle success, but also in how they respond to failure. Honest, self-aware individuals take responsibility for their mistakes and learn from them. Deceitful and envious people, on the other hand, rarely admit fault. Instead, they blame others, make excuses, or play the victim. The Stoics believed that accepting responsibility is the foundation of wisdom and self-mastery. Epictetus taught that we should focus on what is within our control, saying, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." A person who refuses to take accountability for their failures is showing a lack of character and, often, a hidden sense of resentment toward those who succeed. Have you ever met someone who always seems to have an excuse for why things didn't go their way? Their boss was unfair. Their co-workers sabotaged them. Their childhood held them back. Their relationships failed because of the other person. While external factors can influence life, a pattern of never taking responsibility is a major red flag. Consider historical figures like Napoleon Bonaparte, a man whose brilliance was undeniable, yet his downfall was marked by his inability to accept fault. When his empire crumbled, he blamed everything but himself: the weather, his generals, fate itself. Rather than acknowledging his own strategic miscalculations, he saw himself as a victim of circumstances. This is the mindset of someone who refuses to grow. Now, contrast this with Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king. Despite ruling one of the greatest empires in history, he constantly reminded himself of his own flaws. He wrote in Meditations, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This attitude of accepting mistakes and working to improve defines a truly strong character. You will often notice envious and deceitful people using their failures as a weapon of manipulation. Instead of admitting their mistakes, they might guilt-trip others or use self-pity to avoid accountability. They may even disguise their envy by undermining the success of those around them, saying things like, "Of course you succeeded. You never had to deal with what I went through. If I had the same opportunities you had, I'd be in a better position too." Some of us aren't as lucky as you. These phrases often mask deep-seated resentment. Instead of recognizing their own role in their circumstances, they try to diminish your achievements by implying that their struggles are greater than yours. This isn't humility, it's a way of justifying jealousy. So, how do you apply Stoic wisdom to this? Pay close attention to how people speak about their setbacks. Do they take ownership, or do they shift the blame? Do they use failure as a learning experience or as an excuse for inaction? A person who consistently refuses to acknowledge their own responsibility is not someone who will grow, and not someone you can trust. Here's your action step. Observe patterns in speech and behavior. The next time someone talks about a failure, listen carefully. Are they looking for solutions or just trying to justify their mistakes? Do they acknowledge their own role in what happened, or do they deflect responsibility onto others? A person who never owns their failures will never truly own their success either. As Seneca wisely put it, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Those who refuse to face their own flaws will remain trapped in envy and deception. Surround yourself with those who see failure as a stepping stone, not a dead end. 9. Evaluate how they share their successes. Just as failures reveal a person's true character, so too does the way they speak about their successes. Honest individuals are grounded in their achievements. They acknowledge their hard work without exaggeration or arrogance. Deceitful and envious people, however, often distort reality, either inflating their accomplishments to seem more important or using them as a tool to diminish others. This kind of behavior signals insecurity rather than confidence. The Stoics warned against seeking external validation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others, unless it is for some mutual benefit. It is not your job to determine the thoughts of others, but to keep your own mind clear." A person who constantly boasts or manipulates the truth about their success is usually compensating for deep-seated insecurity. You can often recognize these individuals by how they speak about their achievements. Some exaggerate every detail, making their success seem grander than it actually is. They crave admiration, needing others to validate their worth. Others subtly use their success as a means of control, reminding people of their superiority, positioning themselves as the most important person in the room. Then there are those who downplay or even fabricate struggles to make their achievements appear more impressive. It's not enough for them to succeed. They need their success to overshadow others. History offers many examples of this. Think of Caligula, the infamous Roman emperor who demanded to be worshipped as a god, despite his reign being built more on cruelty than wisdom. He exaggerated his victories, surrounded himself with flatterers, and eliminated anyone who threatened his image. His obsession with appearing powerful led to his downfall. His delusions made him blind to reality. Compare this to Marcus Aurelius, who, despite being one of the most powerful rulers in history, never sought to glorify himself. Instead, he consistently reminded himself of his mortality, of the fleeting nature of success, and of the importance of humility. In modern life, you'll see these patterns everywhere. A colleague who takes credit for team efforts, a friend who constantly reminds you of their success without acknowledging their privilege or luck, an acquaintance who only shares accomplishments but never struggles. They don't celebrate success. They use it as a tool to reinforce their perceived superiority. And just as they inflate their own achievements, they often diminish the accomplishments of others, responding to your victories with phrases like, "That's great, but I've done something similar before." Well, that's not really a big deal in my industry. I remember when I did something even harder than that. These comments are designed to subtly downplay your success, not to engage in genuine conversation. The goal of an envious person is not to acknowledge or learn from the achievements of others, but to maintain a false sense of superiority. So how do you apply Stoic wisdom to this? Pay attention to how people frame their accomplishments. A person of strong character will acknowledge their success with gratitude and humility, while a deceitful or envious person will use their achievements as a way to control perception. Look for consistency. Do they support others as much as they seek to be celebrated? Are there stories about success filled with truth, or do they feel exaggerated? Here's your action step. When someone shares an achievement, observe whether they uplift others or merely themselves. Do they express gratitude for those who helped them along the way? Do they acknowledge the role of luck, timing, or external factors? Or do they rewrite the narrative to make themselves appear invincible? As Seneca wisely put it, success is not in what you have, but in what you give. Those who are truly secure in their success do not need to inflate it, nor do they need to overshadow others. The moment someone's success becomes a weapon rather than an inspiration, you have seen their true nature. 10. Listen to your inner voice. Through all these signs, the inconsistencies, the subtle comparisons, the way someone handles success and failure, there is one final test that often goes overlooked: your own intuition. The Stoics taught that wisdom comes not just from external observation, but from the ability to trust one's inner judgment. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this when he wrote, "Dig within." Within is the wellspring of good, and it is always ready to bubble up if you just dig. How many times have you sensed something was off about someone, yet ignored the feeling? Maybe their words didn't quite match their energy. Maybe their compliments felt forced. Maybe, despite their outward friendliness, something deep inside you resisted trusting them fully. That is not paranoia. It is perception. Human intuition is powerful, shaped by experience, subtle social cues, and patterns we pick up on without consciously realizing it. The problem is that we often silence this instinct out of politeness or self-doubt. We convince ourselves that we're being too judgmental, that we're overthinking. But more often than not, that lingering sense of unease is pointing to something real, something our rational mind has yet to fully articulate. You've likely seen this play out before. A friend tells you they're happy for you, but you sense resentment beneath their words. A colleague reassures you they're not envious, yet their actions contradict them. A person in your life appears supportive, but you can't shake the feeling that they secretly hope to see you fail. The Stoics would tell you, trust that feeling, but do not be ruled by it. The wisdom of Epictetus applies here. If someone is speaking ill of you, do not defend yourself against what is being said, but instead observe whether they are right. If they are wrong, it does not concern you. The point is not to become suspicious of everyone, but rather to develop a clear, detached awareness of reality. When dealing with jealousy and falsehood, your instincts will often sense the truth before your mind does. A person's words may be polished, but their energy, tone, and body language will often reveal more than they intend. You don't need hard evidence to trust your own perception. Patterns of behavior are evidence enough. So, what is the Stoic approach when your intuition warns you about someone? Do not seek confrontation. Do not expose them or try to change them. Simply distance yourself. The best response to envy and deceit is not anger, not revenge, but quiet awareness. You do not need to prove anything to them, nor do you need to engage in their games. You simply recognize them for who they are and choose to move forward with clarity. Here's your final action step. The next time you sense that someone is not being fully honest with you, do not dismiss the feeling. Instead, observe. Watch their behavior over time and see if their actions confirm what your intuition already knew. The more you trust your own perception, the less likely you are to be misled by words alone. And remember, as Marcus Aurelius put it, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Keep your thoughts clear, your instincts sharp, and your circle free of those who do not align with truth. Envy and falsehood are not always easy to spot, but they always leave clues. The patterns of behavior, the inconsistencies, the reactions to success and failure, the subtle comparisons, are there for those willing to see them. The Stoics remind us that wisdom is not about controlling others, but about controlling ourselves. You cannot change the envious or the deceitful, but you can protect yourself by seeing them clearly and choosing where to invest your energy. Remember, pay attention to actions over words. Notice who is consistent, who is genuinely happy for you, who accepts both praise and criticism with grace. Above all, trust your own perception. The more you sharpen your awareness, the easier it becomes to separate the genuine from the false. Surround yourself with those who uplift, not those who secretly resent. And as you move forward, let Stoic wisdom guide you, not in fear or suspicion, but in quiet confidence that you can see reality for what it truly is. If you found value in this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's continue spreading the principles of Stoicism and self-mastery. Until next time, stay disciplined, stay aware, and keep choosing wisdom over illusion.